She is asleep, but something is sitting on her chest. Not a dream, a shape, a presence with real weight. For centuries, people believed they knew exactly what it was. The pressure on the chest, the paralysis, the terror of being awake, trapped inside a body that will not move. Priests blamed demons, doctors blamed bad digestion, but one painter put this feeling on canvas 200 years before medicine caught up. And once you understand what he painted, you may never fall asleep the same way again. This is called The Nightmare. It was painted in 1781 by the Swiss artist Heinrich Fuseli. A woman lies across a bed, arms hanging limp. On her chest sits a creature, not human, not quite animal either. And in the shadows behind the curtain, a pair of glowing eyes watch from a horse's head. When Fuseli first exhibited this painting in London, critics did not know what to do with it. It had no myth behind it, no Bible story, no history lesson, just a woman, alone, and something sitting on her. Audiences were shocked. Shock sold. This single painting made Fuseli famous almost overnight. And that success was strange by the standards of the time. Royal Academy paintings were supposed to depict the Bible, or ancient history, or myth, at the very least. The Nightmare had none of that. No story from any book explained what was happening. Fuseli had simply invented a scene from nothing, and audiences could not look away from it. Today, the painting lives at the Detroit Institute of Arts, roughly 6 feet tall, oil on canvas, large enough that, standing in front of it, you feel like you are in the room with her. At first glance, it looks like pure invention, a nightmare imagined by a strange mind. But look closer at her position, the arms thrown back, the head tilted at an angle that suggests she cannot move it herself. This is not a woman dreaming peacefully. This is a body locked in place, and Fuseli painted that lock with disturbing precision. The creature on her chest is called an incubus. In old folklore, a spirit said to sit on sleepers, pressing down, suffocating. Some stories even claimed it could assault them in their sleep. Its female counterpart was called a succubus. Legend even said the wizard Merlin was fathered by one. The pale horse behind the curtain has its own name too, a mare, not the animal. The word actually comes from Mare, an old Scandinavian term for a tormenting spirit. That is where the word nightmare comes from. Not horses at all. Fuseli was so attached to this image, he did not stop at just one version. He painted at least 3 variations across his life, each one slightly different. The creature's pose changes. Even the horse seems to be watching differently, as if the image kept returning to him, uninvited. The same way the incubus returns to her. Look at the brushwork on the woman's nightgown, pale, almost glowing white against total darkness around her. That contrast is deliberate. It is the technique known as chiaroscuro, extreme light against extreme shadow, used to trap the eye. Fuseli wants you to see her first. Then, slowly, notice what is sitting on top of her. Here's the part that should really unsettle you. What Fuseli painted has a real medical name today: sleep paralysis. It happens in the gap between sleep and waking. The mind wakes up, the body does not. And in that gap, some people report something specific: a crushing weight on the chest, a sense that someone or something is in the room, watching, sitting, pressing down, unable to be fought off. For most of human history, there was no science for this, so every culture reached for the only language it had. In Old England, they called it the Old Hag. In Newfoundland, simply being hagged. In Japan, the phenomenon is called kanashibari. Different names, different centuries, describing the exact same sensation. Even today, scientists still can't agree how common it really is. Some put it at under 10%, others put it far higher than that. But nearly every study agrees on one thing. It is far more common than most people realize. Fuseli may not have simply imagined a scary scene. He may have painted, with real accuracy, a condition that medicine had not yet named. If mysteries like this keep you up at night, there's a new one every week. That's what this channel does. So why did he paint it, specifically in 1781? Historians have spent over 2 centuries asking that question. One theory points somewhere very personal. Around this time, Fuseli fell deeply for a woman named Anna Landolt. She was the niece of one of his closest friends. By most accounts, the feeling was never returned. In one surviving letter, Fuseli wrote of his despair, describing a longing that bordered on obsession. The relationship went nowhere. Landolt married another man shortly after. Some historians read this painting as heartbreak turned into horror, desire and rejection twisted into something monstrous and physical. Under that reading, the Incubus isn't a demon at all. It's Fuseli himself, sitting uninvited on a woman who never wanted him there. But there's a second reading, just as convincing. This painting isn't only about Fuseli or Anna Landolt. It may be about something far more universal. The fear every human carries of losing control, of their own body, while completely unable to wake. A fear so old, cultures across the world independently invented their own version of the very same demon. This painting did not stay inside museums either. It slipped straight into literature. Mary Shelley, who later wrote Frankenstein, grew up around this exact image. Edgar Allan Poe referenced Fuseli's haunting style in his own stories. A single canvas, quietly shaping the horror genre for generations. 2 centuries later, one man kept a copy of this painting on his wall. Sigmund Freud, founder of psychoanalysis, the doctor who spent his career studying the unconscious mind. He reportedly hung a print of the nightmare in his office, in Vienna, where he saw patients every day. For Freud, this image wasn't simple folklore anymore. It was closer to a map of repression, desire, fear, and the mind's darkest corners, all sitting quietly on one sleeping chest. Later, surrealist artists, including Salvador Dali, studied this exact painting. They saw in it one of the first true images of the subconscious mind, decades before psychology could even explain it. So, which reading is correct? A portrait of one man's obsession with a woman he couldn't have, or a portrait of a fear shared by anyone who has ever woken up unable to move? Maybe the most disturbing part of all is that both readings can be true at the same time. A private heartbreak painted with such precision that it accidentally became a universal nightmare. I would love to know what you think this creature represents. Leave your reading in the comments below. The painting watched. It still watches. It never stopped. Most people look at paintings. Very few actually see them. This is inside the artwork.